Imagine this. You're driving alone on an empty highway in the dead of night. The road stretches endlessly in front of you, swallowed by the pitch-black darkness surrounding your car. Your headlights barely cut through the thick fog, making it feel like you're driving through a void. No other cars, no signs of life. Just you, your car, and the haunting silence. The kind of silence that feels wrong, like something's watching you from the shadows. Suddenly your car jerks forward and stalls. The engine sputters once, twice, and then nothing. Dead. You check your phone, but there's no signal. Typical, right? Stuck in the middle of nowhere, completely alone. That's when you see it. A faint light flickering in the distance just past the trees. It's almost like a small town. But there shouldn't be a town here. You checked the map earlier, and this road led to nothing but empty land. Out of options, you decide to walk toward the light, hoping to find someone who can help. As you approach, you notice the houses. They're old, ancient even. Dust and decay cling to every brick, like this place has been forgotten for decades. Yet here it is, this town that no one talks about. The street signs are faded, but you can still make out some of the names. Hollow Road, Dread Street, names that send a chill down your spine. You pass by a diner, its neon sign flickering erratically, casting eerie shadows across the empty street. Inside you can see booths, tables, but no people. The whole place feels frozen in time, like everyone just vanished. You keep walking, unsure whether to call out for help or turn back. But something pulls you deeper into this ghostly place, like you're not supposed to leave. And then you hear it, a faint whisper. At first you think it's the wind, but no. It's too deliberate, too close. You whip around, expecting to see someone standing behind you, but there's no one there. The whisper comes again, clearer this time, calling your name. How does it know your name? That's when you start to wonder. Is this town really abandoned? Or are you being watched? Hey, by the way, if you're still watching this far, what country are you tuning in from? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to see where our viewers are from. You pick up your pace, heart pounding in your chest, the eerie atmosphere closing in on you. You need to find someone, anyone. Just as you turn a corner, you spot an old gas station with a dim light flickering inside. There's a man at the counter. Finally, someone who might help. You step inside, but the man doesn't react. His back is turned, and he's still. Too still. You call out, but he doesn't move. Slowly you approach, reaching out to tap him on the shoulder. Just as your hand inches closer, he spins around, and you freeze. His face is wrong. Like he's not alive, but not dead either. His eyes, milky and blank, stare through you. No emotion, no life, just emptiness. Before you can react, the door slams shut behind you, the light flickers once more, and everything goes dark. That's when the whispers return, louder, angrier. They're all around you now, closing in. The air feels heavy, suffocating. You can't breathe, you can't move. Panic sets in. Suddenly, the lights flicker back on and you're no longer in the gas station. You're in the middle of the street again, standing where you started. The town looks the same, but something's different. The air feels colder, thicker with a sense of dread. And then you realize the town isn't abandoned. It never was. It's trapped. You're trapped. But here's the thing. You're not the first to stumble into this town. There were others before you. People who came looking for help, just like you. They wandered these streets, searched these houses, but they never made it out. And now, they're part of the town's curse. Ghosts, echoes of the past, forever watching, waiting for the next victim to join them. But what is this place? And why does no one talk about it? Could it be that those who find this town never leave to tell the tale? As you stand in the middle of the street, the feeling that something is watching you from every direction intensifies. The air is unnaturally still now, not even a breeze stirring. It's like the town itself has trapped you within its boundaries. You try to remember how you got here. The road was clear. The map said there was nothing in this area. How did this town just appear out of nowhere? You keep walking, heart racing, every step echoing loudly in the eerie silence. The houses around you look as though they've been abandoned for years, yet something feels off. It's almost as if these buildings are watching you, like they're alive in some way. Suddenly, the church doors slam shut behind you with a deafening bang. The temperature drops, the air around you thickening with a cold you've never felt before. Panic sets in as you run to the door, trying desperately to pull it open. But it's locked. No matter how hard you tug, it won't budge. And then you hear them, the whispers, the same whispers from before. But this time, they're louder, clearer. They're all around you, filling the church, echoing off the walls. It's like they're calling to you, pulling you deeper into the nightmare. You turn around slowly, and in the dim light of the church, you see them. Figures, dozens of them, shadowy and indistinct, standing at the back of the church, staring at you with hollow, empty eyes. You back away, but there's nowhere to go. The church is closing in on you. The figures are getting closer, the whispers louder, more frantic. And then all at once, everything goes silent. The figures stop moving, the whispers cease, and the air grows so still that you can hear your own heartbeat. For a moment, you think it's over, that somehow you've survived whatever nightmare this town has trapped you in. But then, a voice breaks the silence. It's not a whisper this time. It's a deep, guttural voice that seems to come from all around you, yet from inside your head at the same time. You will never leave. Your entire body goes cold. The voice is so close, so real. But there's no one around. The figures in the church remain still, their hollow eyes fixed on you, but that voice. It sounded as if it came from within your own mind. You stumble backward, frantically searching for another way out, but the walls of the church seem to be closing in. "You will never leave," the voice repeats, louder this time, echoing in your skull like a curse. You feel trapped, suffocated, like the very air has turned against you. Desperately, you run down the narrow aisle, pushing through the thickening darkness that swirls around the church. As you near the back, you spot a small door, barely noticeable in the shadow of the altar. Without thinking, you bolt for it, yanking it open with trembling hands. You step through the door into a graveyard. Rows of ancient tombstones stand crooked under the dim light of the moon, covered in moss and overgrown with vines. You take a cautious step forward, your shoes squelching in the wet dirt. The tunnel stretches on into the darkness, but there's nowhere else to go. You have to keep moving. As you walk, the walls seem to close in. The ceiling so low you have to duck in places. Every creak, every drip of water makes your heart race faster. After what feels like hours, you see a faint light ahead. It's dim and flickering, like a lantern struggling to stay lit. You move toward it, desperate for any sign of hope. But as you approach, you realize the light is coming from a small room carved into the side of the tunnel. The room is cluttered with old rusted tools, wooden crates and torn sheets of paper scattered across the floor. In the center of the room is a table, and on it, you see something that makes your blood run cold. A journal. It's old, the leather cover cracked and worn, but it's open, like someone has been reading it recently. You hesitate for a moment, then reach for it, flipping through the brittle pages. The handwriting is shaky, but you can make out enough to understand what it says. Trapped, no way out. The town, it's alive. It takes us, uses us. We become part of it. I can hear them, the others. I can feel their whispers, their pain. I've been here too long, too long. The writing trails off, the rest of the page smeared with dirt. Or is it blood? A cold shiver runs down your spine as you realize whoever wrote this didn't make it out. They were trapped here just like you, and if you don't find a way out soon, you'll meet the same fate. Suddenly, the light in the room flickers and the temperature drops. The whispers return, louder now, swirling around you in a frenzy. You spin around, heart pounding, but there's no one there. Then you notice something else in the room. A door, half hidden behind a stack of crates. It looks old, barely hanging on its rusted hinges, but it might be your only way out. You move toward it, pushing the crates aside, and pull it open. The door creaks loudly as it swings open, revealing another tunnel. But this one is different. The walls are smooth, and the air is colder. You take a deep breath and step inside. The tunnel twists and turns, leading you deeper into the earth. You have no idea where you're going, but the whispers are following you, growing louder with every step. You can almost hear words now, fragments of voices calling your name, telling you to turn back, to give in. But you keep going. At the end of the tunnel, you find another door. This one is large, made of heavy iron, and it looks like it hasn't been opened in years. You push against it, using all your strength to pry it open. The door groans, the metal grinding as it finally gives way. On the other side is a room, a massive chamber filled with old, crumbling stone statues. They're humanoid, but twisted, their faces distorted in agony, their bodies frozen in unnatural poses. The room is lit by a single flickering torch mounted on the far wall, and in the center of the room is the man from before. He's standing there, waiting for you, his eyes gleaming in the dim light. "I told you," he says, his voice echoing off the walls. "You can't leave." You take a step back, panic rising in your chest. "What do you want from me?" You shout, your voice trembling. The man smiles, but it's not a friendly smile. It's cold, sinister. You're part of this now. You belong to the town, just like everyone else. "No," you scream, backing away. "I'm not staying here. I'm getting out." The man's smile fades. There's no way out. You've seen the graves. You've felt the whispers. The town has claimed you. Desperation surges through you. You look around the room, searching for any way to escape. The statues loom over you, their hollow eyes seeming to watch your every move. And then you see it, a small opening in the wall, barely big enough to crawl through. It's your only chance. Without thinking, you sprint toward it, diving through the narrow opening just as the man lunges for you. You hear him shout, but his voice is drowned out by the sound of the tunnel collapsing behind you. You crawl through the tight space, your heart pounding in your chest. The walls are closing in, the whispers louder than ever, but you don't stop. You can't stop, not now. After what feels like an eternity, you see light, real light, at the end of the tunnel. You scramble toward it, pulling yourself out into the open air. You're back in the town. But something is different. The sky is darker, the buildings more decayed. The whispers are still there, faint but present. And then you realize you're still trapped. The town hasn't let you go. It never will. The cold wind bites at your skin as you stand there, staring at the town that looks even more twisted than before. The once decrepit buildings now seem alive. The windows like eyes watching your every move, the streets like veins pulsing with some unseen force. A deep, gnawing fear takes root in your chest. You may have escaped the tunnels, but this town, this cursed place, still holds you in its grip. You start walking, your legs shaky as you navigate the streets again. Each step feels heavier, as if the ground beneath you is trying to pull you down. Your mind is screaming at you to leave, but your feet keep moving forward, drawn by some invisible force. Suddenly you hear footsteps behind you, quick, light, like someone is following you. You stop and spin around, but there's no one there, just the empty street and the distant howl of the wind. But the sound, it was real. You know it was. Your pulse quickens as you pick up the pace, nearly running now. The footsteps return, matching your speed, growing louder with every step. Panic wells up inside you, your breath coming in short, sharp gasps. You run faster, darting between buildings, desperate to escape whatever is chasing you. Then, out of nowhere, you collide with someone. You stumble back, heart hammering, and look up to see a woman standing in front of you. She's out of breath, her hair disheveled, her clothes dirty and torn. Her wide eyes are filled with the same fear that's coursing through your veins. "You have to hide," she whispers, grabbing your arm with trembling fingers. "It's coming. It knows you're here." "Who are you?" you ask, your voice barely above a whisper. "What's coming?" She doesn't answer. Instead, she pulls you into the shadows of a nearby alley, her grip tight and desperate. It feeds on fear. The more you run, the stronger it gets. We have to stay still. We have to stay quiet. You press yourself against the cold brick wall, your chest heaving as you try to control your breathing. The woman peeks out from the alley, her eyes darting back and forth like she's expecting something to appear at any moment. And then you hear it. A low, guttural growl, echoing through the streets. It's not human, not even close. The sound makes your skin crawl, your stomach twist in knots. Whatever it is, it's getting closer. The woman turns to you, her eyes wide with terror. "Don't move, don't make a sound." You nod, barely able to breathe as the growling grows louder, closer. You can feel it now, a presence lurking just beyond the alley, like a shadow creeping along the edges of your vision. It's hunting you, feeding off your fear. And then for just a split second, you see it. A massive, hulking figure at the end of the street. Its body is twisted, unnatural, like it was stitched together from different creatures. Its glowing eyes pierce through the darkness, searching, hunting. And when it locks onto your hiding place, you feel an overwhelming wave of dread wash over you. The woman grips your arm tighter, her voice barely audible. "Don't! Move!" But it's too late. The creature lets out a deafening roar and charges toward the alley, its footsteps shaking the ground beneath your feet. You freeze, paralyzed by fear, as it barrels toward you. The woman lets out a scream and bolts, running deeper into the alley, but you're rooted to the spot, unable to move, unable to think. Just as the creature reaches you, something snaps inside you. You break free from your paralysis and dive to the side, narrowly avoiding its massive claws. It crashes into the wall where you were standing, bricks crumbling beneath its weight. You scramble to your feet and take off running, your heart pounding in your chest. You don't know where you're going, but you have to get away from that thing. You can hear its footsteps behind you, feel the ground shaking with each step it takes. But no matter how fast you run, it's always right behind you. You round a corner, your legs burning, lungs aching, and spot a building with a half-open door. Without thinking, you dive inside, slamming the door shut behind you. The creature slams into the door with a force that nearly knocks it off its hinges, but the door holds. For now. You back away, your eyes scanning the room for any possible escape. It's an old abandoned house, dusty, with broken furniture and shattered windows. But something about it feels off, like it's watching you, just like the town. You can hear the creature pacing outside, growling, scraping its claws against the door. Suddenly, you hear a voice. "Upstairs. Hurry." It's the woman. You spot her at the top of a staircase, her face pale and desperate. Without a second thought, you sprint up the stairs, taking them two at a time. As soon as you reach the top, she slams another door shut behind you, locking it tight. "What is that?" "It's the town," she says, her voice trembling. "It becomes whatever you fear most. It hunts you, traps you, until you give in." You stare at her, disbelief mixing with the terror in your mind. But why? Why us? She shakes her head. "I don't know. I've been here for weeks, maybe months. Time doesn't work the same here. But once the town chooses you, there's no escape. It doesn't let anyone go." You slump against the wall, feeling the weight of her words. No escape, no way out. Just like the journal said. The growling outside grows louder, the creature pounding on the door. You can see the wood splintering, cracking under the force of its blows. "We have to move," the woman says, her voice barely above a whisper. "There's a way out of the house, a tunnel, in the basement. It might lead somewhere safe." Might. But you have no other choice. The creature lets out another roar, and the door finally gives way. The woman grabs your hand and pulls you toward the stairs, leading you down to the basement. The air grows colder, the whispers returning, louder now, more insistent. As you descend into the darkness, you can't help but wonder, is there really a way out? Or is this just another part of the town's trap? The basement is pitch black, the damp air thick with the stench of mold and decay. You can barely see the woman in front of you as she leads the way, her flashlight casting long, eerie shadows on the walls. The ground beneath your feet feels uneven, like the earth is shifting beneath you. The whispers are louder now, echoing in your ears, making it impossible to focus on anything else. "Where's the tunnel?" you ask, your voice shaky. "Just ahead," she replies, but even she sounds unsure, like she's trying to convince herself more than you. Your mind is racing. If the town is alive, if it's feeding on your fear, then how can you trust anything? The journal, the woman, the tunnel. What if it's all part of the town's twisted game? But you push the doubts away because you don't have a choice. The creature is still upstairs, searching, and every second you hesitate brings it closer. Suddenly you trip on something soft. You look down, and your stomach lurches. It's a body, a man, his face twisted in terror, his skin pale and cold. You stagger back, your breath catching in your throat. The woman doesn't stop. She's too focused on finding the tunnel. "There!" she shouts, her flashlight revealing a narrow, stone-lined passageway hidden behind a pile of debris. It looks old, ancient even, like it's been there long before the town existed. You hesitate, staring into the darkness of the tunnel. Something about it feels wrong, like stepping into it would be crossing a line you can't come back from. But there's no time to think. The creature is coming, its growls echoing down the stairs. "Go!" the woman urges, grabbing your arm and pulling you towards the tunnel. You duck inside, the walls so narrow you have to squeeze through. The air inside is colder, more suffocating, and the whispers, those relentless, maddening whispers, grow louder with every step you take. Is this really an escape, or is it another trap? The tunnel seems to go on forever, twisting and turning in ways that make no sense. You lose all sense of direction, the darkness pressing in on you, the whispers drowning out your thoughts. The woman is ahead of you, but you can barely see her now. Her flashlight, just a faint glow in the distance. Suddenly the ground shifts beneath your feet, and you stumble, falling hard onto the cold stone floor. You hear a crack, and pain shoots through your ankle. You try to stand, but the pain is too much. Panic sets in as you realize you're alone. The woman is gone. The flashlight is gone. The tunnel is completely dark, and you're trapped. You scream for her, but there's no answer, only the whispers, louder now, almost deafening. You try to crawl, dragging yourself forward, but the tunnel seems to be closing in on you, the walls pressing tighter and tighter. This can't be real. This can't be happening. And then you see it. A figure at the end of the tunnel, barely visible in the darkness. It's not the woman. It's something else. Something wrong. Its shape is twisted, unnatural, just like the creature that chased you earlier. But this one is different. It's smaller, more human-like, and it's just standing there, watching you. Your heart pounds in your chest as you drag yourself backward, away from the figure. But it doesn't move. It just stands there, staring, as if waiting for you to make the next move. "What? What do you want?" you whisper, your voice barely audible. The figure tilts its head, as if considering your question, and then in a voice that sends chills down your spine, it speaks. "You." Before you can react, the tunnel walls seem to shift again, and suddenly, you're back in the town. The streets are empty, the sky dark. But the whispers, they're still there. Only now, they're inside your head. You can't block them out. They're telling you things, showing you things, memories that aren't yours, images that make no sense. And that's when you realize the town has you. It's inside you now, in your mind, twisting your thoughts, your reality. You're not just into the town anymore. You are the town. You try to shake off the feeling, desperately clinging to some shred of reality. Your heart races as you struggle to breathe, but everything is distorted, warped beyond recognition. The streets, the buildings, they pulse and shift as though they're alive, breathing in sync with your own frantic gasps. "Stop it!" you scream, clutching your head. But the whispers only grow louder, more insistent. They swirl around you, pulling you deeper into the town's grip, into its endless nightmare. And then you see them, figures emerging from the shadows, their faces familiar. The woman, James. The bodies you saw in the basement. They're all here, watching you with hollow, empty eyes. They're part of the town now, just like you. Their mouths move, but the words are drowned out by the whispers that are now screaming in your head. You turn to run, but there's nowhere to go. The streets twist and warp, trapping you. Your body feels heavy, as if the town is pulling you down, dragging you into the ground, into its depths. You try to fight, to scream, but it's useless. The darkness closes in around you, swallowing you whole. In those final moments, you understand. There's no escaping. You were never meant to leave. The town doesn't just consume your body. It consumes your soul. And just like that, the story ends. Or does it? Here's where things get really interesting. The town, an entity that devours the fear of those who dare to wander in. But here's the real question. Do you believe a place like this could exist? Have you ever felt something strange in your own hometown? Maybe a street you avoid, or a place that just feels wrong? Let us know in the comments. Have you ever experienced something like this? Share your story below, because maybe, just maybe, you're not alone. And before you leave, don't forget to hit that like button if this story sent chills down your spine. If you want more terrifying tales, subscribe and click the bell icon so you never miss what we have in store next. Also, let us know in the comments